Move on hier. Das 2. Gehen wir dann gleich auf die nächste Dings noch. The asteroid looms large in the cockpit's glass. Light glints off the sheets of surface ice, the same glint that must have caught Malik's attention when he was fleeing the Conway countermeasures that damaged the spring tide. There's been no sign of Conway drones or mines, but that hasn't stopped Seraphim being cautious in his approach. You have to admit, you find yourself searching the black void of space for a telltale blinking red beacon too. We're close enough to jump down to the surface. Seraphim locks down the engines. I don't see anything on the scope, but I'll keep her warm just in case. Thanks. He nods without looking up from the controls. I say we call the snowball fast. Eugene shrugs. The less time we are out here, the less likely we are to run into anything Conway left behind. He smiles. Simple. Sure, Seraphim cuts in, but fast means messy, and messy means more damage to the ice. We don't need to crack the shelf and lose half of the water we came to survey. You said anything about messy? Eugene stretches, unclipping from his seat. Fast and clean. He winks at you. Easy. You unclip from your seat and kick off towards the airlock. The scale of the asteroid is troubling, but Seraphim assured you on the journey here that surveying it would be easy enough. Just take a sample from the deep ice for testing. The problem, he said, is getting down that deep. You'll have to cut away at the ice, dig yourself a hole, and doing so will create fractures in the shelf. The asteroid may be big, but it is held together with only a weak gravitational force. The more the ice is cracked away, the less there is for the fast spindle to harvest. Something you doubt Malik will be happy about. You push the worry to the back of your mind and get suited up. Something on your mind? Bliss drifts up beside you and pulls a suit from the rack. Just hope we don't mess up. Me too, they shrug. I don't want to jinx it, but it seems simple enough. Can't say rock, or in this case, ice cutting is my usual strength, but it's gotta be simpler than slicing a hull without touching any of the internals. Bliss zips up their suit. We'll be fine. Bliss's reassurance that they don't have any experience with the job you're about to do doesn't exactly calm your worries, but their nonchalant attitude helps, especially when you consider the volume of ice you are about to start cutting into. Cheer up, Bliss punches you on the arm as you get into the airlock. Might never happen. The lock cycles and you find yourself staring out at the glinting surface of the asteroid. 1 second sleep. Seraphine's voice comes over the comms. I'm seeing something here. Some kind of man-made shaft on the far side of the asteroid. Interesting. Eugene is stood beside you in the airlock, but in this vacuum you only hear him through the comms link. Crews sometimes stash goodies out on rocks like this. Let's go take a look. He pats you on the shoulder. Just hold up. Seraphine's voice cuts through. The survey is our first priority, and the integrity of the water ice. Hunting for buried treasure comes dead last on the to-do list. You can almost hear his eyes roll through the comms link. Don't get distracted. You squint at the rock and spot a dark recess just over the curve of the asteroid. That'll be the distraction then. You refocus on the ice sheet. Time to get started. Sampling location. To get a survey of the water quality and volume, you need to take a sample core from the deepest section of ice. Slice away ice. Rather than scanning for a sampling location, you can make one by chipping away the surface ice to reach the core. This is an aggressive approach. Survey surface, section by section surface scan will guide you to a good sampling location, but with such a vast sheet, progress will be slow. Okay. Shaft descent. Frozen and dark, descending the shaft to whatever lies beneath is a dangerous and delicate process. Explore the cracks. The shaft may be clogged with ice, but dark cracks suggests a more subtle way through, even if it will be slow going. Clear the ice. The fastest way to descend the shaft is to break away the ice clogging it, but if you aren't careful, you could damage the asteroid's structure. Okay. Frozen core. Deep core. Sample of the ice should give you what you need to analyze the asteroid and report back to Malik. Sample core, a long and weighty cylinder of cloudy ice, comes up the borehole cleanly. It glows in the sunlight, catching the rays in its frosted interior. Nicely done, Sleeper. Bliss chirps through the comms. I've never caught an asteroid before, but the result is pretty. Let's just hope it's drinkable. Let's not melt it down for liquid refreshment just yet. Seraphine chimes in. It's likely packed with unpleasant impurities. Question is, are they the kind of impurities the fast spindle can filter out? Let's get it up to the ship and we can run the analysis on the trip back. Seraphine pauses. And before you get any ideas about digging around on that asteroid some more, remember that if we break away any of the ice, Malik will likely dock our pay. You start the journey back up to the ship, dragging the sample core with you. As you do, you look back down at the asteroid, wondering if it might be the bargaining chip Malik has been looking for. We'll know soon enough. Ghosts of the past. What was this place? If you can get one of the terminals started, perhaps you can extract some answers. Such treasures. This place has been abandoned for decades, but perhaps there are some useful components tucked away. flickering screen catches your eye in the dark of the bunker. A distorted female face, further refracted by the surrounding eyes, stares at you from the terminal with blank white eyes. You move closer, straining to hear her voice, but the recording is silent, or perhaps the terminal's audio output is broken. All you can do is watch the pale face as it contorts through the corruption and noise. It could be explaining some important secret, long forgotten, or just recounting a personal anecdote that is hard to tell. Circles and curving arcs flash across the face, graphical visualizations of orbits and flight plans. You squint at them, the shapes unknown to you. And then, as soon as it starts, the playback ends, leaving a frozen frame on the screen, a ghost face circled by orbits. You slot a drive into the terminal and copy what residual data is left, unsure where it might lead you. Once it is done, you shut off the terminal once and for all. As you leave the bunker, the pale face flashes once more in your mind. Those blank eyes, the flat stare, was that a human or something else? You turn the image over in your mind, unsure of its importance. Okay. Sind wir fertig hier. On the journey back from the asteroid, you pored over the tests Malik had given you to run, improvising the necessary equipment from your mess. Each one produced spools of data, much of which you couldn't parse. Arriving into the vicinity of the fast spindle, you broadcast these strings of data to Malik's personal terminal on the springtide as instructed. Despite all this preparation, you're still surprised when you find Malik standing at the far side of the docking tunnel as you leave the rig. Sleeper, he nods neatly at you. I thought it was better I come down here, away from my crew, to discuss your findings. And the findings were straight to the point. He clasps his hands. Good. As I suspected, the asteroid was indeed rich with water ice. Thankfully, the contaminants can be dealt with. He speaks matter-of-factly, betraying little emotion. With the data you provided, I should be able to convince the Fast Spindle administration of its worth. Then we're good? Malik smiles. That remains to be seen. Before I make payment, I would like to ask in person if you saw anything else of consequence. Anything to share with me that might affect my dealings with the Fast Spindle. He folds his arms across his chest. I would prefer not to have any surprises when they go to retrieve the water. There was a shaft. Interesting. Malik smiles. It is likely of no consequence, but if there's something of value there, it could play to my benefit. I will mention the potential of additional salvage to the Fast Spindle administration. Given the data, it doesn't seem to have impacted the ice. Malik reaches into his pocket and produces a stack of cryo-chits, bound carefully with a strip of paper. 250 cryo as agreed. You take the chits and quickly tuck them away. With that, our business is concluded, Sleeper. Malik nods slightly. I must speak with the administration to negotiate the release of my ship, and then prepare for immediate departure. The Syndicate will be eager for my successful return. Thank you. Malik bows and turns. Should our paths cross again, I will see that it will be to your benefit. Sleeper, something catches your attention as you go to leave the ship. Can I have a minute? Of course. Seraphin ducks into Maintenance Passage. Ach, geht's um seine Schwester. Ja, okay, dann kennen wir das. So, erstmal reparieren. You slide the loose panel away from the wall, letting it float there. Beside the airbike rack behind it, in the dark, you see the blinking lights of the fuse box. A noise nearby draws your attention for a moment. The scrape of a sliding door maybe, or just some old system cycling in the walls. It took long enough to gain access to the Stripline Express bike garage, and longer still to find a safe route to the airbike racks. But you're almost there. You've seen and heard the hired muscle searching and guarding this place, but have been lucky enough not to come face to face with them yet. You turn back to the darkness behind the panel. If what Cadet said is right, the drive is taped to the back of the fuse box in front of you. You reach through and around slowly, carefully, and your hand settles on something cold and metallic in the dark. It is taped firmly to the box. You pull at it, but it doesn't budge. A quiet rattle echoes from the dispatch office next door, and you freeze for a second. It seems Cadet was a little too enthusiastic with the tape. Tear it off. In one quick movement, you rip the drive away from the fuse box. The sound echoes loudly in the hollow behind the wall panel, and you wait quietly for it to subside. A few seconds pass in silence. Time to move. Slip the drive inside your coat and kick away from the wall, gliding back towards the maintenance corridor you entered from. As you cross the bike garage, you hear voices in the dispatch office next door. Just as you tuck yourself into the cool darkness of the maintenance corridor, a screech indicates the opening of a door from the office next door. Voices rumble through the room, and you quickly and quietly push yourself deeper into the gusts of the building. Too close. Barely daring to breathe, you carefully make your way through the maze of passages that brought you here, their doglegs and dead ends now familiar. Eventually, you spot a thin slit of light ahead, marking the loose panel you levered open to gain entrance. You take a deep breath, almost there. As you reach the gap, you freeze. Voices rumble from beyond, and peering through, you see two figures in dark clothes searching the chaotic bay behind the strip line. Your eyes are drawn to the dark, boxy weapon one holds at their side. Shit, you hiss silently to yourself, your eyes searching for a path through. Rush them. Without waiting, you shove the panel aside and kick hard off the wall, reaching out for the figure with the weapon. You slam into them, sending both of you tumbling through the air. You kick out again and feel your foot connect with their face, slamming them into the floor and sending you spinning towards the far side of the bay and the public passage beyond. There's a hiss and the guttural chatter of a pressure valve as an airbike pulls up beside you in the passage. Cadet leans over and grabs the collar of your coat. Hop on. In a moment, you're on the back of the airbike, clutching the strap of Cadet's bag as she guns it down the passage, the air resistance almost ripping you from the thin seat. You lean against the back and let out a sigh, the drive pressing into your ribs beneath your jacket. You did it. Still alive back there? Cadet's voice brings you back from the hypnotic rhythm of the tunnel lights rushing past the airbike. She slows the bike with a rapid series of hisses, and you realize she has brought you back to the passage outside Bliss's Bay. You try to understand the route she took, a long loop through the branching transit tunnels of the station, but give up. You can let go now. She straightens up and you unhook your fingers from a back strap, separating yourself from her back. You push off the bike gently and float in the passage beside her. You okay? Look pretty rough back there. She smiles. Appreciate you putting it all on the line for me. Who were those guys? Your guess is as good as mine. She shrugs. Didn't look like anyone nice though. I wouldn't sweat it. She smiles. Go on then, let's see the drive. You fish the drive out of your jacket and hand it over. That's the one. She squints at it. Should have chucked it when I had the chance. You get your first good look at it, and there's not much to see. A small lump of solid-state memory with a few markers on the case. You spot a yellow hex among them. Hex port. What now? She winks, slides it back around her shoulder to the front and slots the drive neatly into a pocket. I know someone in the scatter yards who can crack anything. She'd be my first port of call to crack this thing open. She stretches her shoulders, and I should make myself scarce from the spindle anyway, before those dickheads catch up with me. Come with us. Appreciate the offer, but I think it's best if we go our separate ways for now. 2 targets are harder to track than 1. She cycles the pressure bar off on the bike impatiently. Cadet leans away from her bike, squinting out of the viewing window at your ship behind. That yours? She doesn't wait for an answer. If I'm not mistaken, that old thing is going to struggle to reach the scatter yards, unless you've added a Hasselhoff suit. Sweet. Hasselhoff? Yeah, belt between here and scatter yards is drowning in debris. Worse than Sexport. You'll need hazard navigation to make the crossing safely. Rodic Syndicate created the tech to help their tankers cross the belt. Common knowledge. Cadet nods at your ship. Maybe if you head up to Wellspring, you can barter or steal a suit, she adds casually. Here. Cadet unties a bag lashed to her bike frame and holds it out to you. Not enough here for a refit, but maybe you'll find some use for him. You take the bag and something clinks inside it as you do. You open it to see a couple of engine components. I was gonna use them to boost her. She taps the frame of the airbike, but you deserve them. She meets your eye, then looks away. Not like I'll be doing any runs for a while anyway. Thanks. It's nothing. Like I said, you deserve them. She flexes the fingers on the bike's handles, eager to be away. Cadet's airbike stutters and purrs, trembling in the air like an arrow, ready to be loosened. See you around. She winks and guns the throttle, sipping off down the passage with a pulse of air that ripples through your clothes. You stare after her as she goes, a bag of components still hanging from your hand. You realize as you look down the passage that you never asked how Cadet plans to get to the scatter yards. That question, like a score of others, will have to wait until you run into her next. Although you have a feeling she will find a way to slip away before you can ask them next time too. You head back towards your ship to stow the components, idly wondering if you could justify buying an airbike to Seraphin as you do so. Okay. das Ding da hier nicht weitergegangen ist, während wir beim Contract waren. Now that you're vouched for, you can play games in the casino, but you feel the eyes of security on you. Sleeper suspicion. People are usually suspicious of sleepers, but they get especially suspicious when you repeatedly win games of chance. Nee, gut dann. Schauen wir mal, ob wir was Gutes würfeln, wenn nicht dann. Das Zeug, genau. Nej. Keep your hands where I can see him. Voice crackles over the open channel of your suit comms as you near the stranded rig. Slowly you approach a little as you move toward the ship. Its shape lumpy and skeletal in the distant light of the sun. Warm welcome bodes well for the rest of the job. Bliss shoots you a concerned look. You look up at the stranded ship ahead. Clearly, they are feeling a bit exposed. We're here to help. Well, I figured that, the voice retorts. Otherwise, I would have put a hole in that shiny rig of yours already. You arrive at the side of the rig, inspecting the damage as you do. Half the hull, plating, and big chunks of the internal structure seem to be missing. But you have a feeling that this is not what you're here to fix. The airlock opens, and you move inside. The interior all exposed wires and metal framework. The system wheezes and shudders as it cycles. Nothing of value here, so if you're looking to steal something, yeah, welcome to it. Alma greets you plainly inside the rig. You do the work that's needed and I'll let you take your half of the haul. Understood. Well, right then. The face is as placid and unchanging as a rock. Here's the shot of it. Engine's conked out on me, and I'm no engineer. Can usually get her going, but this time no dice. She looks between you and the rest of the crew. Surprised there's so many of you, to be honest. She smiles sympathetically. Sorry about that, but don't worry. I've worked on these engines before. They give Alma a wink. I can handle this. Don't be so sure. Alma leads you towards the engine room, the layout of her rig much the same as yours. This girl is the sensitive type. You need to know how to handle her. The central corridor of the ship snakes in a way that isn't familiar to you, and you realize this rig is far more heavily modified than your own. Something that becomes all the more obvious when you arrive in the engine room. Rather than the rig's stock engine, a singular block and double turbine with feed lines between, Alma's engine is a mess of piping and feed lines, linking up multiple raw components welded to the interior frame of the room. Your eyes widen at the sight. Been adding to her since I was young. Alma smiles at the chaos. Might look like a mess, but she purrs when she's running. Bliss is shaking their head slowly. Oh, sleeper. They let out a puff of air. This is going to be special. You struggle to tell if they are intimidated or impressed. Perhaps it's a little of both. Yeah, it's all that's about all of it. Alma gestures to the exploded engine. Get her running and you'll get your half of the haul. We'll do what we can. Hope you aren't time wasters. Alma squints at you. You certainly are a strange crew. Alma glides over to a window set in the side of the engine room and points to the corroded remains of a facility deep in the asteroid's loose, dusty surface. There's the hall. She taps on the glass. As good a find as I've seen. The hall is a building? Building and all that's in it. Screws up her face What, you too good for scraping? By rights, that building's mine, the scrapers claim. Emma scratches at a mess of hair, but you helped me get her running and you're welcome to take what you want from it. Up to a maximum of 50% of raw mass, that is. That's not what we expected. She looks up she looks you up and down, and you feel the first acknowledgement of you being a sleeper. I doubt it'll trouble one of you. Anyway, you're leaving with nothing unless my girl here is back in shape by the time you're done. She folds her arms across the chest. So get to it. Turn back to the engine, your eyes tracing the madness of the interlocking systems. You're starting to have the horrible feeling that this contract is some kind of elaborate joke. Almost girl. The old engine has seen a lot of use and modification. Fixing it means learning how it works. Engine labor. With a system this complex, you can either understand it or approach it systematically, checking it piece by maddening piece. Engine study, almost engine fills the room like some esoteric sculpture. To try to fix it, it must be studied and understood. Raw material, this entire facility is scrap. It just needs cutting and stacking, which means cycles of hard work. Get scrap. Beyond the corroded outer wall, this place is just scrap. This is a scrapper's work, and it takes resilience more than skill. Hidden treasures. You suspect that deep in this facility there might be some components you can use, but it'll be a long search. In the corroded, ragged remains of this facility, there still might be valuables tucked away. The trick is to find them. We all gather in arm's rig to see the engine tested. The engine room purrs and chitters. It seems to warm with the sound of the engine, with the polyrhythmic vibrations that rattled through the open framework of the interior. Look over to Alma and you see her eyes are closed, a small tremble at the corner of her mouth. You look at the engine, Alma's engine, an object that you have come to respect over the past cycles, even if you haven't necessarily grown to love it. It is, as you see it now, a difficult thing to love. All parts of it make little sense, and its oldest systems, those now bypassed and made obsolete by newer additions, still somehow play an integral role you don't understand. It is unwieldy and unnecessarily so, and the accumulation of parts and patches from its long service makes it surprisingly fragile. Meanwhile, other sections have been welded and re-welded so many times that they are impregnable and will never be able to replace. It is uncooperative and prone to sudden outbursts of cooling fluid or even fuel. It is restless and will begin to leak when left idle for too long. It is always too cold or too hot, thanks to the coolant and the fuel, and it is hard to predict which it will be at any given moment. And yet, despite all this, it is an object you feel close to, that you feel a kinship with. Because in the end, you two are an accumulation of broken parts, long outliving their operational limits. You two are a machine that has become a story, and a story that has grown beyond the ability of others to understand it. You look over to Alma again, and Bliss is there beside her. You can see they are talking, but with the engine running, you cannot hear them. Watch for a moment, Bliss now patiently listening as, in faltering words, Alma explains something to them. Bliss nods, and then suddenly they embrace, gently and with care. Bliss pushes back, and as soon as the moment has passed, it seems like it might not have happened at all. Nothing in the two figures' attitudes betrays the act, and the room seems unchanged. You try to remember if you have seen them speaking before now, but you recall there are many moments when you were not with Bliss. As you watch Alma approach, you realize the engine is not just special to you, and that between her and Bliss, it might have been the bridge to a unique kind of respect. That's the job, Sleeper. Alma approaches you from the other side of the room, and you know where the payment is to be found. I believe that brings our business to an end. Alma scratches at her hair. Unless you have something to add? What do you do now? I believe that's my business. She bristles at the question. I'll need to find somewhere quiet to resupply and so on. But I don't think you'd like my usual haunts. She gives you a sly look. I appreciate the assistance. You're welcome to take what you want from the hangar. A hangar, if you haven't already. You see a knowing shimmer in her eyes. Now, I must kindly ask you to leave my ship. As the airlock cycles, you look across at Bliss, and I swear you see a tear in their eye. Are you okay? Bliss turns to you as if they forgot you were there. I'm good, Sleeper. Really good. They sniff. This place reminded me of why I do what I do, why I fix things. They look ahead. There's beauty in it. You find yourself drifting away from Alma's rig in a haze of thoughts. It's clear to you at this point that Alma's history is written all over this place, but more than that, well, you can't be sure. The story, it seems, isn't for you. You realize as you gaze at the broken remains of the facility that Alma never took any of her half of the hall. You turn back and squint at the cockpit of her rig. You see her there, looking out across this wasteland, still as a statue. It's an image that you load into the rig and begin the preparations to depart. Will stick with you. One that every time you enter the engine room of your ship, a room almost identical to the engine room of Alma's rig, will leap into your mind. A woman floating above the wreck of what was once her home, looking for a reason to keep going. Okay. There is a moment taking a break from dragging the plates you've cut across the asteroid's surface. You find yourself looking up towards Alma's rig, still there on the edge of the crater, and wonder if she's watching. With the engine fixed, you half expected her to leave immediately, but she remains there on the horizon, unable to leave this place. As if in response, your comms channel buzzes. "Nice pile you got there," announces herself in the open channel. "We'll make scrappers of you kids yet." "That scrabble earned you a pretty penny if you know what you're doing," she continues. Holmes Rock's always a good place to offload. I'll give you that for free." Look at this stack of ragged torch-cut plates as they are loaded up into the rig's cargo hold. And yeah, you have to admit, you do feel a little pride at the work done. "Thanks. You earned it." You glance over your shoulder at the cockpit of Alba's rig, where you can see her watching. "What is this place?" There's a click on the open channel as it closes, and Alma seems to take a moment to consider a response. She clears her throat. "How about you tell me what you think, Sleeper?" Signal station? Sounds like a mystery story. Alma coughs and splutters. No, nothing as interesting as secret communiques were coming out of this place when it was still alive. Alma goes quiet for a moment, but you wait, getting the feeling there's still more to be said. See the old arrays on the far side? You turn and look up the rock towards the broken frames and panels you can just make out in the dust, catching the sun's weak light. Those were the first priority. Get power running, recharge the cells for the excavators, the welders, turn a scrap into something livable. She falters and coughs. Look at them now. You see the tumble-down collection of panels. They look like they were scattered by a careless hand, discarded without much thought. The comms channel clicks off, and you see the distant silhouette of Alma drift from view, out of the cockpit of her rig. You turn back to see that the scrap has been loaded into the ship. You're half of the haul, though you suspect this place is more than just a haul to Alma. Ich war noch nicht fertig. Okay. Ja gut. So, dann sind wir sind wir bald ungefähr wieder da, wo wir mit dem anderen Charakter waren. Aber ich glaube, bevor ich da wieder zurück gehe und halt Dings, den Schiffkern Ding hol, gehe ich glaube ich zuerst mal nach Dings, da ganz oben halt da, wo eventuell dem Seraphim seine Schwester ist.